Hello, welcome to True Hoop with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I am well. How are you today?
I am good. David in an undisclosed location doing basketball things as he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
David, we have a rule on this podcast that you implemented. We don't talk about bad basketball teams just because there's too much going on with all the teams that are good and like relatively competent. So we don't have time for that. But being that it's the off season and technically nobody is bad yet because the season hasn't begun, I figured let's shine some light on some of the teams that we think we won't be talking about much this year because they're probably going to be bad. But there's some potential bright spots along the way for these teams. And just so people know, we're going to be continuing rolling out on Troop.com. We should all be subscribed to on Substack the contenders that David has, and we'll be rolling them out throughout as we get ready for the season to start. The Nuggets piece is already out. Another one will be out this week. I think there's about 8 contenders, I believe, I'm not mistaken.
Eight with Denver being right now my 8th seed of the top 8. If we were looking at the whole league as one league, both conferences one league. So we've got 8. I think you and Travis and Henry would feel the same 8 that I have in a different order. Maybe you guys had Denver maybe ranked higher, which may be correct because of Jokic, and maybe Murray comes back as we wrote about last week.
Yeah.
The way the league looks like it's divided, we've got the 8 upper class teams. They're sitting in first class.
Mm-hmm.
I think today you want to talk about the 8 teams in the deep coach with the smelly bathroom in the back of the plane or the bus, right? And then the really big. There's not that many teams we're talking about today,
right?
And then I think you could have added a few more teams that might be in the back.
But I was being nice. I was being kind.
It's fair enough. And then a really huge middle class.
Yeah.
Which we can get to, whatever. But last year I had like 12 contenders before the season, if I remember right. We're whittled it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those middle class teams can make some adjustments
and
bump in, I think, the upper class. In fact, some of these teams we're talking about today might have a champion.
Ooh,
they might be a world champion on one of these rosters we talk about today, right? Think about it. Someone suspecting guy thinking, we're going to fucking lose 50 games or more this year. He might end up getting a ring, or 2 guys even.
Yeah.
Or at least playing the finals. So I think some of these teams will be helping another team maybe either push up to the top of the upper class or move from coach into first class.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect way to think about it. And we're going to start here with one of the teams here in the city where I live, the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, the Knicks are not part of this crew. They will be, among the contending teams, give or take, depending on where that falls. They were amazing last year, went to the conference semifinals, lost to a game Indiana team who was just so much better than them. And also, we talked about this before, right? Indiana plays 10, 11 guys, right? And they've done that all year. The Knicks did not, and that hurt them in that and injuries also, to be fair.
So they were already injured to begin with.
Right.
That, and then the way they play with Thibodeau just not believing guys can get hurt from overuse. And miraculously, to some anyway, guys got hurt because of overuse. That doesn't mean they're not contenders, in my opinion.
Right. Do you think Tibbs actually believes that players can't get hurt from overuse? Like, honestly,
I think the Knicks coaches do. At least the head coach does.
I think you're right.
I think he thinks it's a myth that overuse can, I don't know how he feels about baseball. Those pitchers can't go all day, every day.
Right.
I don't know how he feels about baseball. It seems like in basketball, he thinks like, they're tough, they're fine. The evidence isn't great, but nevertheless, the Knicks are contenders.
Yes.
The Nets are not.
No, the Nets are not contenders. Woe is me. But David, I will say, here's some positive news for Nets fans. Coming off of the KD, Harden, Kyrie era, and people thinking, well, 2 years.
Yeah.
People thinking like, oh my God, we're so screwed. They're actually not in terrible shape from a draft capital standpoint and from a shedding big salary standpoint, right? They got stuff back in return for those guys.
Yep.
So they're actually okay in that respect. But what they are, though, is a roster that's kind of like you got ill-fitting people on different timelines, right? You've got Ben Simmons, which, we've discussed ad nauseum on this show, which a super talented player who, by the looks of it, it does not look like his body and or his person and work ethic will get him back to where he was, which was an all NBA caliber player. And that's really a shame because this guy was incredible. So you've got players like him, Dennis Schroeder. Now they've got Bogdanovich, Cam Johnson, a bunch of older players who, in the right scenario on certain teams, are great additional pieces for big time guys. And then you have Cam Thomas, Daron Sharp, Nick Claxton. You just got Zaire Williams from Memphis, right? A bunch of 23 to 25-year-old guys who could be something in the future, but they don't seem to be on the right timetable as those 28 and older guys I just mentioned.
All right. So a couple of things. So regarding the timetable, the veterans aren't good enough to be the top guys of the contending team.
Correct.
And so that's what you mean about timeline.
Mm-hmm.
The Ben Simmons things is, I mean, I would never presume to challenge, and even with you, anyone's mental focus if they've got back issues. Yeah, but I agree with you. I agree with your sentiment completely. It just doesn't seem like we're ever going to see anything close to what we saw for whatever reason. That's a game changer for Brooklyn for this year. Therefore, don't you think those veterans are likely to be moved?
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a pretty good list.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty good list of guys.
Dorian Finney-Smith, who I didn't even mention, also part of that veteran crew.
Yeah. Yeah. And Daron Holmes is part of the younger group.
Mm-hmm.
That he has a chance. Obviously, Claxton. They just gave Claxton a new deal, didn't they?
They did. But his deal is one that, again, should they want to trade him, they can. Right? Because
I think everyone, tell me if I'm wrong, Jarod, because they're not contending teams, I'm not that familiar with their roster construct in terms of contract. But I think everyone but maybe Cam Johnson has a very palatable deal to move. Cam is being paid a lot of money. I would not say there's no way he can ever earn that money because of what happened last year. Because last year was terrible. I want to say also, the Nets are a team I think that's a well-run franchise.
Yes.
They had some bad luck between COVID and Kyrie and whatever. I don't think those guys. I think those guys are good. Maybe very good. We'll see. It's hard to say, but they're definitely good. I think they're smart.
Yep.
Players that I've talked to that have been in that organization feel the same way. Like they feel like it's a professional, well-run group. That isn't what a lot of NBA people say about their own team, but that is a team that people think, okay, we're in good hands. So therefore, you start the season. And you're already taking phone calls. That's already happening.
For sure.
Where's our market at? And you're not showcasing guys, but you're open for business. And so if Cam, the first game Cam Johnson goes 8 of 12 from 3, he might get traded the next day.
No, I like that. And look, and it's true. And this is not about a knock on Cam, right? It's just kind of the reality of how all of this works. And actually, David, his deal's not that crazy. So it's 4 years, $94 million. It's about it's average about 22 and a half a year, give or take. So it's not like, as you mentioned, it's not immovable. You can move that deal for sure.
And he's the hardest one to move, I think.
Yes,
because
I agree.
If he doesn't come out smoking, because he's not young.
Right.
He's early in his career, relatively.
Right.
He's not young. He started
28. Yeah.
Yeah. So 28. So, but yeah, if he's shooting 42% from 3 and solid on defense, someone might be feeling like, well, we got to get another shooter, and it's possible.
Yeah. And we've seen him on a good team as that kind of role when he was on the Phoenix Suns, when he's a bench guy, right? On the year they won 60 whatever games it was. So that he can do that. The other thing to know about the Nets is this is the first go round for head coach Jordi Fernandez as a head coach for an NBA team. Of course, he was head coach of Team Canada.
Yeah.
So it's going to be implementing whatever system he's going to want to run and style they want to play and all of that jazz together. And again, it may be a situation where the franchise it's clear to me they're looking to rebuild and they want to have younger guys in when he rebuilds versus the veteran guys that are on the squad right now. So again, as David said, Nets taking phone calls for sure, open for business. And if certain guys pop off, look for moves to happen. And again, all the players we mentioned, my God, they could help so many of those teams we talked about in that 8 contender spot. And even the people in the middle class that hope to maybe, will this help us now bubble up a little bit higher? We can make a conference finals run, right? Like they can really do some damage.
Yeah. Well, think of how TJ McConnell helped the Pacers. Of course, he's a veteran player, but we know Cam Thomas can go nuclear on offense.
Sure can.
And there's value to that, to contending teams. We also have to remember, we might have mentioned this on one of our last couple of pods. I'm told the draft is strong. On the top, it's strong, stronger than this year by a good margin. You've got Cooper Flag.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Edgecombe, BJ Edgecombe, the wildly athletic Russell Westbrook-like bohemian guard for Baylor, who may not start for them, but he also could start certainly by the end of the year because they're loaded, Baylor. But he's what I've seen on film. Ooh, boy, and he likes to defend. And I actually talked to two of Baylor's better players, and they're like, "Oh boy, he's good, and he plays the right way." But he's just young. He's just young, so he's a rising freshman. He's an incoming freshman. And then the other one, I've just gone blank on his name, but I know who he is. Dylan Harper, Ron Harper's other son.
Oh, okay.
Who's high level. Those are the top three guys as of today that I think American. I don't know about overseas, but there's a whole bunch more. I'm dealing with some high level college players, of which I think all of them could help NBA team. Like 5 of them, seriously, that I think are first round talents. And I'm sure there's 40 more that are competing for those 30 spots or so. And so, what do the Nets have their own pick?
Yes.
I believe I'm right.
They do. Yes. Actually, this coming draft, they do. Correct.
And these most of the teams we're talking about today do as well. Mm-hmm. And so the abort, I don't mean to say it's a political way, the abort button is the lid is off it.
Oh, yeah.
You may try to do some things, but if things don't go well and Edgecombe goes for 35 in a big game or whatever, because Cooper Flag obviously is just signed a New Balance. I think I read.
Yes, he did. Yes. He's going to get a signature shoe too, I think.
Hey, what?
I think he's going to get a signature shoe as well.
I mean, NBA people are super excited about him. So it makes sense to talk about that in context of this discussion today about these teams who aren't likely to be any good at all.
Correct.
25, 30 wins maximum probably for most of them anyway, if not all of them. Yeah, it makes some sense to talk about these young guys because it's going to be top of mind for them.
Yeah,
do we weed out the veterans that really can't help us, period? Do we weed out the veterans that can help us, which we don't want, and they can help fill our draft status or other things that we need?
Right.
Yeah, it makes some sense that they're going to be looking to tank.
That makes total sense, guys. If if you're watching us on YouTube, of course and you listen to us, you know that David is a player development coach. But if you didn't know that, you know how you could tell David's a coach? Because when he mentioned Edgecombe, his eyes lit up when he said he likes to play defense. That is a coach thing. No, when coaches hear a guy likes to play defense, they are like tickled pink, like this is the greatest thing ever. Because when you want to do that, that is such a huge advantage when you're a young guy.
Yeah, I would tell you a story. I don't like to drop names too much because I'm pretty private about the people I talk to. But this is a worthwhile thing. I was having a conversation with a coach from the Pacers who told me a couple of years ago he was on the phone with a coach somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. I am sure where. I'm not sure which coach it was, so I won't say it. College coach though. This was a Pacers assistant coach, and he was asked like, "What are you guys looking for?" And so in the first round, they were they're trying to hit a home run as always. And then in the second round, this was 2 years ago, he said like, "We need a foxhole guy," whatever that means. Well, he told me, we drafted Nemhard. He said, this is exactly what he told me, 2 workouts in September, 5-on-5 pickup, coach is watching. He said, I'm here with our G League coach, and our G League coach is thinking, fuck, because he's playing so well. And then because he realized he ain't going to play in the G League, because initially they thought he would. And then they realized very quickly, as he said to me, oh, we got a foxhole guy. Like that's it. I know they drafted him for that reason. Because he's an assistant coach, he's not management.
Right.
That's a foxhole guy. So as I tell my young guys all the time, this is a quote I got from an agent who I respect a lot, who told me that he once told his players, like in December when your player's not playing much, your workouts are like the Super Bowl. I thought, oh, that's fucking good. So that's exactly. I'm not really great at being original. I'm very good at copying smart things. So that's what I tell my guys in September. Those September workouts, Super Bowl, fucking Super Bowl, which means guard, screen, dive on the floor for loose balls, take a fucking charge, that kind of thing, So when people said to me about Edgecombe, because the film I've seen is jumping to 28 feet in the air, kind of shit, at like 6'4", 6'5", long guard, again, Westbrook type.
Right.
You feel like that? He told me Westbrook type.
Yeah.
They know something about Westbrook.
They do.
UCLA. When the 2 Baylor players I talked to, separate discussions, both mentioned his defense and his willingness to play defense. Russell Wilson that likes to defend. Now, he may go out of that. I don't have to fuck with defense. I'm sure he'll be a top 3 pick.
Right.
But everyone is saying the same thing. This is not my original thought. If Cooper Flag falls a little bit, here comes Dylan Harper, who I don't know much about. I did talk to his AU coach a couple years ago, and he told me 2 years ago, it was exactly 2 years ago when he told me this guy's going to be top 3 pick in 2 years. That's what NBA people are telling me now.
Wow.
I know where he's going to school. I've not looked it up. You can look it up, Dylan Harper. And then Edgecombe, those guys have a chance. If Cooper, shooting 28% from 3 or just, I don't think any of these issues will be, I think Cooper Flag's a tremendous player.
Yeah.
But remember, this time, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Zion wasn't projected to go number 1.
Nope, he was not.
RJ Barrett was the one player in that class.
Yes, he was.
So let's just see where it goes. But all of this is to say, all these other teams, they've got to be thinking, man, we get top 3, we're getting ourselves a legit potential NBA, all-star.
I like it. Well, Dylan Harper, happy for me, going to my alma mater, Rutgers University in New Jersey.
Rutgers, right. He's from there. That's where he's from, is that area, yeah.
Very nice. So kudos.
Well, we may never hear from him again until the draft. I'm just kidding. I didn't know what league they play. Are they in the Big Ten?
Yeah, Big Ten. Listen, women's basketball over the years, we have been good. Men's, not great.
No, I'm all for it. I think it's great. Don't go to the same schools.
Right.
That could change Rutgers for the next 10 years. One great, although Texas hasn't been so great since Durant went there, but you never know. Certainly Rutgers has a bunch of talent to recruit from.
Oh, yeah. New Jersey and Pennsylvania nearby, they should be decent for sure.
Yeah,
don't ask me why they're not. All right. We're staying in the East, the Chicago Bulls. Shout out to our editor, Travis Moran. Sorry, Travis, that your Bulls are just not great.
Do you know what my ringer is for Travis?
What?
So I have unique ringers for everyone that calls me a lot.
Yeah.
So if it's not one of those ringers, I don't have to answer the phone because the phone isn't always next to me. It's the Chicago Bulls pregame thing.
Oh, nice.
The Alan Parsons project.
Yeah.
I told him that, he giggled. Yeah.
Well, he would love to go back to those days where that was a thing.
Who was if you're a Bulls fan?
And everybody was so happy. I mean, they, like the Nets, have a tragic figure. If for different reasons, although injury in Zach LaVine, in Lonzo Ball.
No, Zach LaVine too.
Well, also yes, he's also injury prone too.
Yeah.
But such a shame because, Lonzo was getting into his own, like, lockdown defender, 40-something% three-point shooter.
Which was a big deal coming out of college when people didn't think he'd shoot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Shot way to the left of his left eye. Yeah.
Which goes to show you that development can happen and guys can improve and all that. But man, this injury, and I don't even know what the timetable is on him coming back. I don't even know if it's this season. It might not be.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think they think it's going to be. But you never know. Come April, whatever. But right now, I remember talking to someone when I was in LA that no one was confident he was going to play this year. It's horrible.
Which is, it's a shame for them. So they got LaVine, who's owed a ton of money, good player, but who's often injury prone. They got Vooch still on that team, Patrick Williams, Kobe White, Ayo, who we both like. They got Josh Giddey in that trade, and we're like, oh, what's Giddey going to do over there? So, again, they're another team, David, with a mix of older guys, younger guys. They did move on from DeMar DeRozan, who's on the Kings now. So one of their big older player salaries got shed. But, again, this is a squad that I'm like, I don't really know what you guys are about and what you're doing.
They don't either. Yeah, I don't think they do either. I think, like the Nets, almost every guy you mentioned, Pat Williams won't be traded. He just got his extension. I'm not sure if he's trade eligible because you have to wait 6 months.
Yeah.
So you can't. So he might be eligible like the last day. I think Lauri Markkanen can be traded the last day before the trade deadline. I think. Okay. I could be wrong, but I know there's someone out there I remember that only is going to be eligible the very last day for the trade deadline. So all those other guys, all of them. Vooch. I like Kobe White a lot. He was one of my top picks for most improved last year, if I remember right. Pat Williams was not a big extension, not a big one, but a good extension. We don't know what he's going to be yet. He's really been hugely disappointing. Whereas from the same school, Florida State, Scotty Barnes earned his max deal, in my opinion, deservedly so. Pat Williams got paid a lot of money. We're not sure yet what he is. Ayo, I was a fan coming out of Illinois, so was Travis. They've got work to do to figure out. They obviously traded Caruso. Didn't get what everyone thought they might get for him. I don't think they got from DeRozan. They probably waited a year too late, even 2 years too late for those guys. And I think it's going to be a mess. And I don't know if they have their pick. I haven't looked at that.
And I think you're right. moving on from Caruso and DeRozan, that's a lot of late game competence that they don't have right now. And again, this is assuming Zach LaVine not healthy, not healthy. Because Zach LaVine, to be fair, when he's healthy, is very good. But
Yep.
He's not consistently healthy, and that's an issue. So they're gonna lose a ton. I just see it, right? And is it fire sale time? Is it rebuild time? The Zach LaVine contract's going to be hard to move. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and when I was in LA, I walked into a gym right after he left, apparently, and some of the guys said he didn't look great. It doesn't mean anything.
Right,
It was August,
right?
But he needs to look great if they're going to move him, I think. And then it's probable.
Yeah.
Someone like the Lakers or someone will feel like we got to try something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people are saying anyway.
Right.
But he's got to play well.
Yeah. And we like Billy. Billy's a good coach. I do wonder though, when it's been a few years in a row with this now for Billy. Like, is he kind of just like, man, college is great?
No. So here's what I've been told. I've spoken to people close to him, more than a few people. I am friendly with Billy long ago. We haven't talked much in a long time, and I certainly would never call him and ask him this kind of stuff. This was spring, so spring of 24,
mm-hmm.
when there was lots of talk. And then, if you remember, Kentucky opened up.
Yes.
Right. Arkansas had it opened up when Musselman left. People close to him said he ain't fucking leaving the NBA.
Okay.
And they were right. He didn't take any of his jobs. That doesn't mean that your sentiment isn't what he feels, which is
right.
Not that college was so great, but that I came to Chicago to compete for something.
Right.
Things broke down at OKC. I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's necessarily great in the NBA. It's hard to say without talent for it. You can't really say.
Correct.
But they ended up being kind of spunky last year.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I was told from a guy on the team that we don't really believe in Billy, and Billy doesn't really believe in us. And I didn't really see evidence of that all consistently. I thought they were plenty spunky, plenty fiery. But it seemed like this year they're kind of caught of what are we going to do? And so you can do both, develop your players and try to win. That doesn't mean you will win, because those players need developing and may not be good enough to help you win yet. But if Pat Williams and Io and Kobe and those guys really jump up,
mm-hmm.
Maybe they end up being a little better than people thought. Now they can make some other moves and try to build around those guys a little bit.
I mean, that's what I would do. I'd play those guys. I mean, isn't that a knock on Zach? I'm just like,
I'm sure they will.
Plays these guys. Just do that and see what you are and develop them, and maybe you can open up something to move Zach somewhere. Again, it's gonna be hard because it's a lot of money, but you figure out how to get that going and move that process forward. One more team we'll talk about before we go to a break here: the Charlotte Hornets. A team that new ownership finally. Michael Jordan no longer the majority owner,
and
new management, new head coach came from the Celtics. So he understands winning at least, or a winning culture.
I've been told by people inside the organization and outside, including one yesterday, love Charles Lee.
Okay.
Love him. Yeah.
And look, you and I both believe that LaMelo Ball is a supremely talented player. But as we know, talent ain't enough in this league to win on. Like, you got to have talent and a bunch of work ethic. I'm not saying I know what LaMelo's work ethic is, but translating that talent into winning basketball has not quite happened yet, at least consistently for the Hornets. And that, I think, has got to be their first priorities. Getting that dude on the page of, not just on offense, my guy, I need you to not be a turnstile and give a shit on the defensive side of the floor as well.
Yeah, I think that I've been, this is almost beating a dead horse here. I don't think you mean work ethic. I think you mean competitiveness.
Correct.
At the highest level. Because he improved his shooting. His handle is elite, and that's very hard to do, especially at his size.
Mm-hmm.
His passing is a gift, but you have to work at it too. I agree with you. He's supremely talented. He's MVP level talent.
Ooh,
really
look at that, folks.
Talent. But the headline of our article coming out of the draft, Henry Abbott wrote the headline. I don't do those almost ever. An alarming lack of competitive fire. Now, he was paraphrasing all my sentiments.
Right.
It was a very accurate headline. There's nothing about me that's changed regarding him. I sense an alarming lack of competitive fire. That does not mean he won't completely transform. they, of the teams we're talking about today, they're the best built team to move into the Orlando Magic territory from a year ago. Of like probably lose first round, but might give a team some fits. They'll do it differently because Orlando did it with amazing defense and a terrible offense.
They're going to score a ton.
Yeah, I think Charlotte. I love Mark Williams at center. Huge fan of Brandon Miller at the 2 or the 3 or the 4. He's a 6'9" shooter. Yep. And everyone I talked to in LA was saying the same thing. Like, in terms of talent, Brandon Miller is fucking talented. Like, high level talent. And then, of course, you have LaMelo. They kept Miles Bridges.
Yep.
And I've heard great things about Charles Lee. They obviously have other guys, too. If they can put it together, because they're going to score, I think, relatively efficiently, LaMelo has to be healthy. And I have no idea why he's not. It may not be anything he's doing wrong. It might be something he's doing wrong. We'll find out, maybe. But they're the one team that, of these all these teams, I think the team that could be surprisingly competitive if they make that adjustment, starting with him. Just caring about winning possessions and not how you look trying to win the possession. If that makes sense.
No, you're dead on, right? I mean, that was your fear of him, right? Is that he might love the NBA lifestyle too much, more than winning on the floor, which leads to a great NBA lifestyle, right?
And he's not alone in that. I was talking to some guys today at lunch. There's a lot of NBA players where I'm at right now, and 6 or 7, 6 or 7 of them. And we were talking at lunch afterwards about that exact thing. Is how hungry are today's guys? Corey Brewer told me years ago his big concern about, or even middle class guys are making so much money now. Now there's not a lot of middle class. This was 3 years ago when he said it, 4 years ago. It's just a lot, and I think plenty of guys are super ambitious and want to own everything. I don't mean financially,
right?
Just own the league and own their position, all of that. Nevertheless, there's guys that don't have their, as one guy said today, he was talking about just social media. I know of players, including some that I talk a lot with, who pay a videographer, in a sense, to film everything for the social media accounts. That being said, they're fucking monsters on the court. Monsters. One guy I know landed at midnight, got in his hotel room at 1 a.m., was working out with his strength coach at 8 a.m., was in my gym at 9:30 a.m., and then afterwards texted me, from now on, can we go a second time in the afternoon? In the same conversation, he was saying to me, I think I need to hire him. He has a well-paid guy. A guy that used to film all my stuff, to build my social media for whatever.
Right.
You can do both.
You can.
But you can't just do the social media part.
Correct.
And expect to last for long in the league.
Correct.
You still got to take care of it. A farmer can have a second business, but he better be taking care of his crops. Right? That's where his money comes from.
As we always say, right? Keep the main thing, right? This is what pays you the dollars. And again, folks, you all know this, but to be clear, the NBA lifestyle is very good. It's easy to get caught in the trappings, okay? Like, you're a young, very physically fit dude who's got millions of bucks in it. Listen, a lot of things can get in your way on the way to success. Like, trust me.
Yeah, and it's more than even you realize, too, because a lot of these guys, I've had players like have lunch with me and say to me, what you're saying is, how do I even trust this girl that I like? Because, Coach, what was it like for you? And I said, I was 22. She was 19. I was dead ass broke.
So you knew it wasn't your money.
I knew it wasn't Hollywood handsome. I knew it wasn't bank account. I knew it wasn't the tree covered, the sap covered Honda Accord I was driving. It was. I have no idea what the hell my wife saw in it. But yes, there's a comfort in that. Yeah. There's a comfort in that. There's a trust level of that.
Right.
And these players are open sometimes about. And listen, Adam Silver's talked about this. We've talked about this on the show. The level of stress and anxiety some of these players feel. Part of it is, who can I really trust?
Yeah.
Who unconditionally loves me and isn't just caring about my bank account or my fame. So all these things tie it together. Then again, that social media part of it only feeds into that even more. Yep. And so I am someone who tries to get guys to worry less about that.
Yeah.
But who am I? There's a business there for sure. As an influencer or whatever. I just feel like, you got to take care of basketball first.
But and the perfect example is a player who lands at one, who's in the gym at 8, is asking you, okay, let's do a second session, like, right? Because they understand this is the money train. Yeah, this is how I keep all these other things going. So the smart players know that, and they figure it all out.
So I gotta love it.
We'll be back after a brief commercial break. I love that you said that there right before the break, David. You gotta love it. And you know, I always think about players who, you know, like you see it on TV, even like in school. When I was in school, there's certain kids who were tall, and coaches would always just, you got to play ball. And I'm like, hey, but I know he's tall, but does he like ball? Right. Like, because if he did, he'd already be right. He'd already be playing ball. Like, what?
Yeah, especially in the Northeast.
Right? It's just it has to be like a passion. Like, look, I'm not saying you got to be a psycho like Kevin Durant, who like all you care about is basketball.
No, but it helps.
But it helps.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Last team in the East, the Washington Wizards. We like a lot of their some of their young talent. Bilal Coulibaly, we were very high on last year, coming out of the draft. I don't know how you feel about Sarr. I think did they draft Sarr?
I have no feelings about Alexander Sarr. I'm open.
Okay.
I don't know anything about him really. I know he was really bad in summer league. I never watched him. But I talked to people who I trust who are very high on him, but I have no opinion yet.
You know, and they're a squad that, again, it seemed like for years, David, they've just kind of traded your guy that you like. Oh God, am I thinking?
Abdia.
Yes, Abdia to Portland. Tyus Jones gone. Are we sure about who their head coach?
Wait, who they hire?
That's right. They got rid of Wes Unseld Jr. See, this is what we don't talk about bad teams. We're like, wait, who's the coach of the Wizards now?
Listen, they've got Brogdon. I can't believe he's not going to be traded.
Oh, he's out of here.
JV, Valanciunas. He won't get traded right away.
Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma.
And then Kuzma, I think, helps the team. Poole, we don't know about. Bub Carrington's a draft pick from this year. Corey Kispert is a guy that, I mean, I don't know yet what he is, but he could end up being a Luke Kennard.
Okay.
A valuable shooter. I actually liked Corey Kispert a lot, but as in that role. And so, yeah, I just
Brian Keefe they hired as their head coach,
right? Who I don't have any opinion of at all. I think this team knows. I mean, Kuzma's a good player.
Yes,
he is. I think Kyle Kuzma's a good player.
He is.
I don't, some of the antics and the fashion, whatever. I don't care.
Right.
He's a good player.
Right.
Yeah, I love Jordan Poole when they won the championship.
Yeah, it's been downhill since then. Yeah.
And I talked to a former teammate of his who feels like he does get it. He just needs to get out of his own way a little bit and be on the right franchise. The punch really ended it for him in Golden State. Yeah. Right. So whoever's fault it was obviously not just wasn't Jordan Poole's fault only. That's for sure. And so they've got to do kind of like what Brooklyn and Chicago. They've got some good players that can help.
Sadiq Bey, Valanciunas. They got Sadiq Bey and Valanciunas are not guys who want to lose games, and they're competitive as fuck. Those guys. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. First year coach, but they're going to be, as David said, very much in the Brooklyn situation where we'll see when they're about late December, and things not going well. All right, let's play the young dudes and let's ship guys where they need to be. Maybe Poole rebounds and is hitting shots again and he gets himself together and they figure out, all right, we can get some value for him. All right, moving over to the Western Conference. Sorry, Henry. Portland Trailblazers. Although, to be fair, you did say on our phone call last week, they're like, Portland might be okay.
I think they're the team I need to, because I've already done everyone's projection. We haven't published it.
No.
I'm going to adjust it because I have them too low.
Okay.
I did it based on trades, but I shouldn't. I can't. It's not fair. I don't know what they're going to do, but their current roster is okay. Not great, not good, but they've got DeAndre Ayton's good.
Yeah, yes.
They've got some pieces, and they've got some movable pieces too. I'm a huge fan of Abdia. I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah.
If they want to lose, I think he's going to help them win games. Right. Same as Ayton. He'll help them win games.
Yeah.
So maybe they do want to win. Maybe they want Scoot, Donovan Clingan to be part of a winning atmosphere. The idea, Jarod, that you draft a college kid that won championships because he's going to bring championship culture is just silly. It's just silly. Okay? Donovan Clingan, he bringing no culture to Portland. He dominated a bunch of college kids because he's enormous. Well, and I love him, but he ain't going to help them win games right away.
forget about winning culture. Is he bringing the ability to move fluidly to Portland? I know you were concerned about him.
His movement was okay. He was clumsy offensively.
Okay.
I talked to someone today about it. They were disappointed in summer league and in when they've seen him in LA. But it's early. I don't know what they're planning on doing. Scoot. It's a lot resting on Scoot.
Yeah.
Not that he needs to be great. I think they want him to make progress, which is a fair thing to want, right? Is he, is he moving in the right direction as someone that looks like he's going to be, what you call a winning player?
Oh yeah, he's a long way. He's a long way from that. He ain't anywhere near that yet.
Yeah, if he is, let's just wave a magic wand. If Scoot looks like he's just a 0.0 net rating like Paolo Banchero was, they've got a D at the 3, who I think can move into plus territory this year. They got Jeremy Grant at the 4. I think he can move into plus territory. Aiden at the 5. Simons as a great shooter.
Yes.
That's not a bad starting 5 at all.
No.
Devontae Graham, who wasn't good, but I saw him this summer too, can be okay. Shaden Sharp.
Well, this is what I'm going to ask you: do they have too many guards? Scoot, Shaden, Anthony. Can this all work together?
It can, yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's ideal because all those guys want more minutes, and that's where they probably is getting some trouble. They all want 30+ minutes, and they
all want to score 20-something points a game.
Yeah, and that's so. I would not be surprised to see some consolidation. Probably Anthony. Because Sharp is super young and very talented, but and they'll get a pick for that whenever.
Yeah.
But I can see Portland feeling like, okay, one more top 3 pick, and then with Klingon and Scoot, get ourselves a scoring wing like Dylan Harper or Flag even can play. Edgecombe is an off-ball player. Then they might feel like they're cooking with grease, and they can start building going forward those 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they're thinking that way a little bit.
So a player like Simons, who can shoot the 3, I think he won a slam dunk contest if I'm not mistaken.
Super athletic,
right? Or even if he didn't, he's very athletic.
Super athletic. Threes, super fast, super jumpy.
You got springs in those legs. What do you think his best scenario and environment is for him to reach his ceiling?
Probably needs to play with a really good quarterback that can set him up. And then he can do his own cooking sometimes too. He's a defensive liability so far anyway. So it needs to be with, a rim protecting 5 like a lot of guys do. Probably needs that quarterback to be an elite offensive player. So that guy, elite defensive player. So that guy can guard the other team's better offensive guard. And then let him do things, shooting, playing transition. He's still relatively young. I mean, he's not in his first contract anymore.
No.
He paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't been relevant in so long. It's hard to know because he hasn't had to perform. And there's a lot to be said. We talked about Foxhole.
Yeah.
The Foxhole is the fucking grind of the playoffs or a playoff run. And when you really perform well in the postseason, boy, you impress veterans. I was talking to an agent today at lunch about his client was commenting on a young guy that was on his team who just killed it in the postseason, in his career. And right away, that veteran was like, oh, man, this guy's a keeper. Because, that's when you got fucking courage. You're willing to fucking fight and make plays. And that really goes a long way. We don't know about Anthony. He just has that chance to do that.
In that situation in Portland, we haven't played any meaningful basketball. It's not scenario to figure that out. The Utah Jazz and Danny Ainge, who foreverly seems to have this team coming out near the bottom. No doubt they're probably going to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes again, though they just signed Lauri Markkanen into an extension, in which we all, we love Lauri, all NBA type guy, just an excellent, who seems to like Utah. They have Keontae George, who I think you and I both like.
Really young.
He's just very young. Colin Sexton, who might have grown on you a little bit last year.
He was in my top 10 for MIP.
Okay.
Really, maybe had the most surprising season of all that no one really is aware of because of how
Utah sucked, yeah.
I liked Sexton coming out, and then I kind of fell off him some. I thought he was terrific last year, especially the second part of the year, and can really score and just play offensively. And so again, another team that's got trade chips, whether it's in the February or next summer.
And Walker Kessler, who we like as well on.
But they also have Taylor Hendricks, who plays
correct,
the
who they
same
just
position as
drafted.
Walker,
Yep.
who's a 3-point shooting shot blocker.
Ooh.
And so they've got some pieces to make some moves on.
Yeah.
Markin is, talk about a timeline doesn't fit. This guy is ready
to win
a
now.
championship, and he has no one else on the team really
Yep.
in that position. So that's where they got to make a decision. It was smart to keep the asset. Now I would keep Markin as an asset because they're human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's smart to keep him as an asset. Now, what can you do to restock your team with more picks and young players, that kind of thing?
And this is where I, from the human side of it, and just from a fan of the game and where someone is at this stage in their career, Markin is 26, so he's in his prime now.
He's prime, yeah.
I would like to see him on a team that actually gives a shit about winning and wants to try to win instead of just languishing in Utah. It would just be nice to see him in the playoffs and, seeing what he could do at that level with a good team. So I hope for his sake he gets to figure that out sometime soon before he turns 30. The other team I didn't mention, and only because I feel like we're going to talk about them a lot during the season, if only because they have someone who we think could be the best player in the league in not too short order, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. Like, they're still, likely not going to win a whole lot of games, but Victor's already a top defensive player, like elite, according to every metric. If the offense just catches up a little bit, I'm not even saying the offense is to be equal to the defense, just a little bit better than it was. As you mentioned on one of our recent shows, there's a lot of points leaving on the table, right? If he can just pick up those things and the shooting gets a touch better, which it did, by the way, because remember, he started the year 20-something% three-point shooter.
Got way better.
So, I mean, if he's just a little bit better, wow, they're going to be just so fun.
Yeah, and then the point guard running things.
Correct. Devin Vassell getting better.
Devin, Jeremy, we'll see about Jeremy. You have Kelton Johnson. Trey Jones is the backup one. Is probably pretty good. They've still got some more guard issues that they have to clean up. I'm just not a big believer in the Spurs anymore. I have real concerns about it. Their roster is pretty good. It's on the coaching staff now to do a job.
So let's touch on like a little bit further. So you think with the right development, who was on that roster right now, they should be, if they were developing properly, they should be a pretty decent team. Is that your opinion?
Yep.
Okay.
I think Devin Vassell, he's still young, maybe 23. But I think he's a very talented two-way player who plays the right way and great teammate, same as Wemby. I'm not sure about Jeremy.
23.
I'm not a huge fan of Johnson, but he's a good player. Kelly Johnson. Was I right about
Yep. He's 23. Yep.
23. Yeah.
Maybe he's 20. My God, he's so young.
Yeah, he's super young. Yeah. I think they have the makeup of a team that can win 30 to 35 games, probably. I don't know that they will, but I think they can. For all these teams, to make a simple summary, they need to start building an identity while they're deciding what to do with their personnel. Defense, playing the right way, making the extra pass, playing more fluidly, taking pride in your screens. Professionalism is a big deal. That routine, big deal. You give your coaches the best chance to do their job when you are predictable, reliable in your approach and what you do each day. Shots go in and out, but all the other stuff can be much more reliable, commonly, if not almost always. And so this is what management would try to do with these guys. And they've got to be convinced that you may not be here, but you'll be somewhere if you perform to those tasks at the highest level. So every day is a Super Bowl for you young guys, but it also could be toilet bowl. Could be traded. Now, I mean, Cyril Little just got cut with a 7-year stretch.
Which is, David, I feel like that kid's got a lot of talent. I just think something's not happening somewhere. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Some agent told me, an agent who knew him well said he does, the money's, he's making enough money and he's comfortable. I don't know what the truth is. He's not, his agent. So these guys get in their own way a lot of different times. And so that's what these teams have to figure out too, is figure out, okay, who should we invest in going forward? Who's got that fire? Who loves to play, loves to be in the gym? I may have told you guys on one of our calls, a teammate at CP3 has told me all he does is watch tape.
And he's 1,000 years old. He's done this for. I mean, come on.
He's addicted to the game. And listen, my son's not nearly as old as Chris Paul, but all Max wants to do is watch basketball. When he can't, he's got other things he wants to do until the season starts. But if given a choice, he's watching basketball. He told me in college, his teammates would come over for lunch every day, and they would put on some replay of the ACC game the night before. Like they're just addicted. That's just how they are.
Yeah, that's how you get good, though.
I think so.
And so to wrap up on San Antonio really quick, I think with the point guard and Harrison Barnes being there, two guys that are professional and do all those things you talked about before, veteran guys. If they're not able to sort of like impart some of that somewhere on some of these younger guys, I think Victor he's going to be worth watching, because I think you and I both agree, David, he cares a lot about winning and wanting to be good. And I know he handles himself professionally. And if the organization, to your point, is not able to get everybody else in line, look, it's only year 2, but I have a belief that at somewhere along the line, I don't know when, one time a rookie, a high drafted rookie, a number 1 pick, is going to turn down his rookie max extension from the team that drafts him because the organization is not serious. Again, I'm not calling that it's going to be Victor, but I'm saying at some point in the future, these teams who just like to fuck around and don't do shit, I'm like, why? I'm out of here. I make enough money with my other stuff. I want to go somewhere else and I'll be fine. I just a little, word of caution out there to San Antonio.
I agree with you, and I don't think it'll be San Antonio with Wemby, but I do think that's in the cards one day.
All right, folks. We'll be back later in the week. Take care.